Hello, everyone.
Oh, bro.
Johnny and V and Flo
Hi everyone.
Hello.
Kruger. Here we go. All right. Apologies for being a couple minutes late. I was having issues with getting into Zoom. Keeps logging me out. It's very annoying. Um, but we made it. So, um, hey Simone, everyone all good to jump straight into trainings and bounce around? Cool.
Mhm.
So last week dragged on a bit, so and I've got a hard stop at 1 today as I have a prospect meeting. So we'll see how that goes. But this is a topic that I learned from Charlie, the guy who was my original ads mentor, that I very rarely, if ever, see anyone else talk about. So I thought it'd be worth sharing with you guys. I think John and Kruger have probably seen me talk about this before, but this will probably be more in depth than I've gone through with you guys in the past. Um, So this is called a 4 PI analysis, 4 performance indicators, um, that help you understand what role your meta ads are or your creatives are serving inside your campaigns. Most people just look at cost per lead as the benchmark, and if it's high, they turn it off. If it's low, they keep it on, and they don't really understand what impact that actual ad or creative is having on their business as a whole. Because sometimes you can inject new creatives into a campaign or an ad that on paper looks shit and on paper looks like it's not performing, but then when you measure the impact across the rest of the business and you see more inbound leads coming through, you see more upsells from clients, etc., you can start to draw correlations between um, what creatives and what ads you put in the account and overall business impact, not just looking for cheap costs per leads or cost per purchases, so on and so forth. Um, so 4PI is a method of doing that, and it has 4 key components to it, which I'll skip ahead to, being the spend, CPM, frequency, and we label it efficiency, but like cost per result, cost per lead, cost per purchase, whatever it is you're optimizing for. Um, and by analyzing and understanding how these 4 uh, metrics intertwine and work together, you can then start to understand, again, what role a particular creative is playing in the account. Now, you've also got to be nuanced with this as well as a disclaimer, as there's always sometimes room for optimization throughout the account. For example, had this experience recently with a client where we had a campaign that had been chugging along for a while and been working really well. And then Meta have changed a few things in their back end, resulting in how they optimize for that, which in this case it was cost per message. So how they optimize for that particular conversion point. So they've adjusted that slightly, and then that it also somehow Meta couldn't explain it. I don't know how, but somehow the pixel got disconnected from the ad account and wouldn't reconnect. So then the performance of that campaign that had churned through hundreds of leads and been performing for ages just plummeted pretty much overnight. Um, so very annoying. So you have to also have in mind that metas do screw things up from time to time. So um, if something like that happens, then obviously what we did was reboot the campaign, basically turn that one off, start a new one. Now we're going to go through the learning phase again, which is frustrating, but it is what it is. So with this, this is based on the assumption that Meta is working as it should, which 99% of the time it does. But they always love to throw a spanner in the works every now and again. All right, so let's break it down. So analyzing your spend, there's obviously the main purpose or the main objective for that is collecting statistically significant data. Um, so again, you don't want to be, John was always a culprit of this, day trading your account, switching on, off, on, off, because you never give anything a chance to learn. So for the first point of statistical significance, um, you want to think of your ads as like little individual salesmen. Um, if you say hired 5 salespeople in a day and you just said, go out and make some sales, and you fired everyone in that day that didn't make sales, so you just one made a sale and you fired the other four. That one could have been the worst out of the batch. It just got lucky and landed in front of a prospect that was ready to buy. Um, so when you do that with your ads and you just launch your ads and then you're just cutting based on like $10 of spend, $20 of spend, etc. You're basically gambling your ad performance on luck. So we want to have statistically significant data, enough data to come through to say, yeah, this one's probably not going to be a performer. Uh, Typically, I would like to give a 2 to 3 times average cost per result. So say your average cost per result was $10, whether it's purchase or lead or whatever, you might give a creative up to $20 to $30 to prove itself and then cut it if it doesn't come through. The other side of the spend, if you're running your accounts at CBO, which if you're following the account structure, you should be, um, is does Meta feel like this creative is worth spending on? Um, if Meta doesn't feel like the creative is worth spending on, um, then even though that creative may perform well as a bottom of funnel, which we'll go into with frequency in a bit, may perform well there. Um, you're typically going to have issues scaling that particular creative if Meta doesn't want to spend on it. Because you've got to balance out Meta's objective, which is good user experience, with your own objective, which is generate leads, sales, so on and so forth. Uh, so Meta's always going to prioritize its users and its user experience over your desire to generate sales and generate leads. Um, so by leveraging CBO and working in line with the creatives that Meta wants to spend on, we know that those creatives out of the ones that we've developed are going to are more in line with Meta's objective. If they're not hitting our objective, then we combine, we change the hook, we change the CTA, we work on refining that particular creative, as opposed to so like our Meta's stupid at spending on the wrong creative, turn it off, and then force spend into like less desirable creatives from Meta's viewpoint. Um, and there are people out there that will say that that's not the right idea. And to counter that, they if you don't understand how Meta works, then you would say that that's a stupid idea. Because the assumption from people that don't sit on that fence is Meta doesn't know what it's doing, that its algorithm's dumb, and that it's going to, like, if I don't force spend into certain creatives, it might spend all the budget on the wrong creative. Um, which is obviously not true. Meta's, especially its algorithm, is infinitely smarter than humans. It has millions and millions upon millions of data points. And if we work in line with Meta, um, and again, Meta can be a frustrating business partner to work with, but if we do our best to be a good partner to Meta, meaning we create creatives that deliver a good user experience as well as meet our own objectives, then odds are we're going to see lower CPMs. We're not going to get our accounts banned or frozen. We're not going to have issues when it comes to Meta, yeah, interfering with our business. Whereas if we're constantly putting ads out that are getting restricted, rejected, we're constantly forcing spend into low performing or low desirable creatives, then yeah, we're gonna, in Meta's eyes, we look like a bad business partner. Um, so yeah, again, you want to balance that. You want to have that balance between Meta's objective and your own objective. If you can maintain that balance, you'll get more scale out of your account because you won't be paying out your nose in CPMs to just even reach people. Um, so next step is looking at the CPMs, which also helps us determine where our ad is playing in the funnel. So CPM, if you haven't heard of that, it's cost per thousand impressions. Essentially, it's how much are we paying to reach people. So if we're paying a $20 CPM, then we're paying $20 to reach 1,000 people. And as I've said in previous trainings, Meta is just a distribution platform. It is not we're not running ads to buy leads from the platform. It's more like TV than it is Google. Google, for example, is a cost per click based platform. So it you pay it based on how many people click on your page. And it's search related. Whereas Meta, and any social, Meta, TikTok, LinkedIn, is more like TV, where you're just paying to get the distribution on the channel. What results of that distribution is on you as a business. Now, obviously, the algorithms are a lot more advanced than, say, just blasting it on TV and hoping someone's watching the 7 o'clock news. Um, but the algorithms are very good at finding the right people, again, because their objective, similar to the organic algorithm, is they want to put good content in front of people. If your ad is good and it's speaking to a particular demographic, it will aim to put it in front of those people because it believes that, Jimmy the accountant is going to relate to accounting-based content. If John is looking at different fitness content or content about cats, he's going to see lots of shit about cats popping up in his feed. Then he'll see ads about cats. And you guys have probably like noticed this stuff as well. Like it's happened. I'm getting smashed at the moment with like NMN ads and nootropic ads and stuff like that because I've been looking at things about creatine and YouTubing them, looking at different reels and all that sort of stuff. So I'm just getting hit constantly with ads about that. Not because of, I imagine, and I know who runs the Super Nootropics ads, so I know he's not doing it. Not because of interest-based targeting, detailed targeting, or anything like that, just because I've shown interest already in similar content types. You can set it to broad, and Meta will go find people that are already searching for that. Um, so I can't remember how I got onto that path because that's different to CPM, but CPM uh, helps us understand. Firstly, what sort of audience we're hitting, and then how much scale we're going to get out of that. So, um, if you're going and performance, when I say performance, it's subjective. So this will change from industry to industry, and these are based on USD standards as well. But the lower your CPM typically means the more reach, obviously, the more reach you're going to get because the reach is cheaper. So, um, what have I been signed out of? You guys can still hear me, right? Okay, cool. Zoom signed me out for some reason. Anyway, so if you've got a CPM of under $20, that's typically going to show that your creative is more of a prospecting-based creative. So what you're looking for with ones that have CPMs like that is not necessarily being the lowest cost per result. They don't need to be the cheapest leads. They don't need to be the cheapest purchases. Um, they are going to get you into new audiences and get you into, yeah, fresh new people, colder audiences. So we expect the cost per result to be higher, the efficiency to be higher. We want a low daily frequency between 1 and 1.15, which we'll get into frequency there. Um, and that CPM to be, yeah, below $20. If we can have a freq or a CPM that is resonating with the right people, that we've got a clear crafted message, it's going to bring new people into our campaign. Then we're going to have more mid-funnel based creatives that will probably have a $20 to $40 CPM roughly, somewhere in that range. They're probably a bit more conversion orientated. They may not be the most efficient, but they're starting to scoop up some of the traffic that's being generated by your prospecting ads. And these are all within the same campaign. I was talking about the other day, you can have creatives that reach the wide audiences in the same campaign as you have your direct response. The campaign is based on the offer or objective. The creative blend or the portfolio of creatives that you build into that campaign serves all of these different functions. So then you'll have, if you're above $40, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but you'll typically see the least amount of spend go to creatives like this. But if you are going to keep them in the account, these creatives should be your the lowest cost per, like your highest efficiency creatives. So they should generate the lowest cost per result. So if you think about it, um, if you just had three different creatives, one was more mass appealing, and that's got a really low CPM, so we're not paying much to get to the wide audience. But it's not like, say the cost per lead there is $20. But it's got a $18 CPM. It's taking up, say, 60, 50, 60% of the spend in the account. Um, and its frequency is super low daily, meaning it's reaching new people every day. Um, then we've got one other creative in there that's in, let's say, $27 CPM. Its cost per result is slightly better than that. Let's say it's a $15 cost per result. It's got roughly around a 1.15 to 1.2 daily frequency. And it's picking up generally like the second most amount of spend in the account. Then you'll have a third creative that is probably picking up the least amount, it might be like 10, 15% of the spend. But it's getting like $10 leads. The CPM is $40, and the daily frequency might be like 1.2 to 1.5 or something like that. Um, what most people will then do is go, these other two ads are shit. I'm going to turn them off because this one's getting the $10 cost per lead or cost per result. But what these two ads are doing is bringing new people into your campaign, bringing new people into your world, touching the campaign so that when they interact positively with these two, this one scoops up the low-hanging fruit. So that you start to develop this portfolio blend inside your ad account, um, where you're not necessarily optimizing for cost per lead or cost per result. And this is why people run into issues when they try and scale, because they're just always optimizing either for ROAS or cost per lead, cost per result, etc. And they keep turning off ads that are serving a purpose in the account. But because their cost per result was $20 and this one's 10, they've turned this one off, but this one was bringing all the traffic that this one was benefiting from. Um, so CPM helps us see all of that, and I just kind of explained all of the components then in one hit. Um, but that's where frequency comes in as well. So frequency helps us determine in conjunction with CPM where our ads sitting in that portfolio mix. So if you start thinking about say you have one campaign that's your lead generation campaign. This is the one we're using, say it's an application one. We're generating applications for our business through this one campaign. Inside that campaign, you're going to have a portfolio of different creative assets that help serve different purposes in that particular campaign. For example, if you were an investor, you might have, if you've heard of, I'm sure most of you guys have heard of Ray Dalio. He has a portfolio called the All-Weather portfolio, where it's got gold, silver, bonds, indexes, and I think, is that it? I think that's it. There might be something else in there. I think REITs actually as well, some real estate. Anyway, that portfolio is made up of a number of different assets. Um, they don't all serve the same purpose. Gold and silver act as a hedge to the market. So even though, for example, the S&P might be on a tear and it's doing really well, you might be thinking, I should sell all my gold and silver and dump it all in the S&P. But the gold and silver acts as the hedge so that if the S&P tanks, the gold and silver will typically rise with it, and not lose value whilst the S&P is dropping. So overall, the portfolio moves up together, and that all-weather portfolio balances each other out. That's what we're trying to do inside the ad account, essentially, is you'll have a balance of different creatives that serve different purposes. Some act as prospecting creatives that reach new audiences with low CPMs, low daily frequencies. Some act as better converters that have higher CPMs and high daily frequencies. Um, and we're looking at the overall blended performance of the campaign and ideally, obviously, moving the campaign up and in the right direction. But when it comes to like, okay, well, how do I know if it's working or what do I optimize? When you're doing this 4PI analysis, which then obviously the last bit being the efficiency, when you're doing the 4PI analysis and you're going through the campaign, you're looking at, okay, well, where's my weakest link? Um, are my, for example, are my prospecting ads doing okay, but they're not really showing any efficiency? Or for example, they might be showing terrible efficiency, like your your more conversion orientated or bottom of funnel ads that are getting the higher CPMs might be like 36, $45, something like that. And a higher daily frequency, they might be converting at 10 and we're paying like $50 for the prospecting ads, for the top of funnel ads, uh, in terms of like cost per lead. So we might look at, okay, well, the creative angle is doing its job in terms of it's getting us into new audiences. It's low CPM, it's low daily frequency, etc. But its efficiency is shit. How can I improve the efficiency of our prospecting top of funnel based creatives to balance the portfolio better and improve my blended cost per result? Flip side might be happening. You might have a really effective top of funnel, but then you just have a really shit bottom, and you need to just work on um, or some accounts, for example, will have no top or middle, and they just have all bottom. Their CPMs are all like 40, 50, $60. They're paying a ton to reach people, and there's just no growth. So they're always going to have issues with scale, and they're typically going to hit spend ceilings, and that's when performance tanks. So by having this understanding overall of I should probably just give up on slides because I kind of like just talk myself through it anyway. But what I was saying then, by basically having an understanding of your 4PI, uh, you can now look at where the holes in your campaigns are, and you can develop creative angles and ideas to plug those holes. Um, so as long as you've got something that's working, so typically I'll start off with like three creative concepts to try and get a campaign moving, and we want to. That's when we'll go through rapid iteration testing, rapid bear testing, etc., to get a campaign moving and get the blended cost per result to a decent level, a level that we're happy with. Then from there, that's when I go into this more in-depth analysis to then start looking at how can I complement the cost per the current creative collection, the current creative portfolio, to help us unlock either more scale, unlock better cost per results, get better CPMs. Like yeah, the obviously the examples are infinite in terms of the different things you want to optimize for, but yeah, when you can think of it in that way as a portfolio, it ends the day trading reactive on off on off on off approach, which is where a lot of businesses I know hit a ceiling and they just get stuck. Depending on what their ticket value is, I see businesses that get stuck at the low millions, mainly because their ticket value is high. Like I know, this is a bit off topic, but um, I know businesses that technically, like for example, they sell something that's like $30,000. They don't actually make that many sales through the years, only because their ticket value is so high that they got to the $1 million level because they only need to make one sale a week. That doesn't showcase, just because you're at the $1 million level, doesn't showcase an efficient business. Um, Whereas like a fitness coach that might be at 20K a month because they're only charging $100 a week, $50 a week, or whatever. Obviously, to have the volume of clients needed to reach a seven-figure level is vastly different. But then the person that's at that selling that 30K thing wants to make out that they've got the secret to becoming a seven-figure entrepreneur or whatever. And yeah, they all full of shit because they've never actually built a business. Whereas if you go to like Kayla Itzinis as an example, Itzines or however you say her last name, actually saw her when I was up in the Gold Coast recently. She was just walking along in Burleigh, and I was like, oh, celebrity. Well, entrepreneurial celebrity. Probably most 99% other people had no idea who she was, but um, she like the business that her and her partner built or ex-partner built, like that's a real business. Low ticket with I don't know how many customers there are, probably millions of customers, millions of clients, strong foundations, team, C-suite executives, like that's a proper business. So anyway, that took me off track, but be wary of people that charge high ticket and then only have a seven-figure business because a lot of time, yeah, they're only just coasting on their high ticket value. Anyway, so a spend level, when you're going through the 4PI analysis, I won't bother doing this. His little cheat sheet. I did get Gamma to throw this together, so that's why you see pounds in some of these. But hopefully that's all made sense. So when you're getting advice from people that have say tried to scale their ad accounts, etc., if they've and they brag like I've got a client for example who sells relatively high ticket. She I think her average client value is about 9K. And for every 2.5 to 3K ad spend we put in, we generally generate 350 to 400 grand out in revenue. Obviously, that ROI is huge and insane. But it's not because I've done anything different with her account to like say other people's accounts where we're not getting that sort of ROI. There's no magic button that I've pressed that's just like ROI accelerator, make me lots of money. Um, there's the main difference in that was it's pretty high ticket, 9K client value. Um, it's in property, which is a high demand area in or high demand sector in Australia. And her as a founder, super relatable, super down to earth, like vibes a lot with the Aussie crowd. So there was just like a mix of great ingredients that allowed for that sort of result to happen. Could I claim that it was some magical thing that I've done? I could try, but I wouldn't be telling the truth. Even though I try and tell her that, and she's like, "No, no, you take the credit." I'm like, "No, it's she because one, she doesn't care about this sort of stuff, but she also doesn't understand that there is no magic button that I'm pressing. I'm just running the account the same that I run any other account." Um, so, any questions on the 4PI or anything we covered?
Just claim it, Sam. It was the wizard hat.
Claim it.
Claim the win.
I'll throw it up. I should throw it up on my Instagram in my little bio at the top and be like,
Oh
100.
no, with the girl that you helped with the. I remember you showing me her the 350K thing you just took.
Yeah, that was that, and it's continued. Like it's just a crazy profitable campaign that I honestly like barely touch it. I maybe look at it once a week, just to make sure nothing's blown up. Because Simone, you'd know who this is as well. She, she's slightly not frustrating, but she doesn't want to grow the business. She's just like happy with where it is. I'm like, oh, there's so much potential to make it bigger and bigger. But she's like, no, I'm happy. Like, I don't want more clients. I'm happy to cruise. Um, yeah, like I barely have to do anything as long as nothing blows up. I just need to keep monitoring it, make sure it's still humming along, which it is, and yeah. And that also is like why the way that I set up campaigns. They don't require that much daily effort, and the results are outsized in returns to in um, respect to like other people's accounts. For example, like Jara, I took over recently. Like I probably do less work on his account now than the previous group did. Like they were injecting dozens of new creatives a week and stuff like that, and he's had on his women's side, he's hit the highest ROI. He still measures in ROAS, even though I'm trying to educate him not to measure in ROAS, but he's hit the highest ROI or ROAS week last week in the women's side that he's ever had. His men's side is back to being like 5x profitable, which it was break even when I took over. Um, so it's completely turned around doing less work. Um, because I'm not day trading. I'm not just in, out, on, off, new creative, test, test, test. And I find that I've got a client at the moment who's semi-annoying, and I've had to call out a couple of times on this because he's always like, let's inject this, let's do this, let's do this. Oh, let's completely change the messaging, let's do this. And like he always, every week, wants to do something new inside the campaign. I'm like, bro, if you keep changing the objective of the campaign, if you keep injecting new shit all the time, you never create any stability in the campaign. So his performance is like okay, it's not terrible, but it's like I would consider it meh. Whereas like I've got another client who runs similar sort of things or like events as well, and once we got the event campaign working in terms of like getting those level of results we want, we just left the creators running. So I haven't touched that campaign with anything new in the last 2 weeks, and the performance is just getting better and better and better week after week by not doing anything. So by doing more, you can sometimes damage your account more than help it. That was a bit of a rant and rift, but did you have a question you wanted to follow that with, Drew?
Nah. Looks like John's ready to pounce or something.
John's been waiting for 2 weeks because he didn't get
Yeah. You broke my heart last time, Sam. I'm not gonna lie.
Sorry, man. We
Yeah, Johnny, bad luck. I'm like, oh no.
I was on a tight schedule. I can't remember what. I think I talked for too long in the training.
Yeah. It's
Give me a voice message tonight.
yeah.
Yeah. But both of you guys seem to, well, at least Krug, I haven't checked John's. John, you can go first, but from what Kruger said, his campaign's back to pumping. By the looks of it. So we
Getting
can jump
better.
into that first, but all right. You're up, Johnny.
Woohoo! I'm a happy man. All right. So I've been doing the work, Sam.
Good
So
man. Fuck, you got a lot of campaigns. Why do you have so many campaigns?
there's a reason. So these ones I have to delete. There's some that I have to delete, but because I split the audiences from Aussie.
Yeah. So you're
Yeah.
hitting the Aussie one.
Yeah, so I'm hitting the Aussie. So then I need a testing videos and stuff like that, and then yeah. Okay.
Your just to carry that in your bear campaigns, you can do your bear, your value base, and your digital air cover.
Mhm.
You can do both countries all in the same one.
Okay.
Just do it like set at the ad set level.
Okay.
But yeah, with your testing ground and control campaigns, yeah, it's up to you. I tend to do like different countries for different campaigns for the ones that I want to generate results through testing ground and control.
All right, cool. Okay, I'll do that. So I've kind of tweaked so I went for like the more mums so like kind of went for more mums in Australia is the messaging that I went for Aussie.
Nice.
And so I mean the cost per message is higher, but the quality is looking pretty good. I haven't closed anyone yet, but I'm like seeing the people coming through and I'm like, okay, like this is looking promising.
Not Deros.
Yeah, it's like honestly, like it was the other campaigns getting a bit thing. Yeah, it was good. The quality is dropping. I'm still getting sales because I'm like it's like pretty much like low ticket. It's only $57 per week, or they pay up front, it's like 2.5 grand. So it's not expensive, so I can still close them, but it's so it's not too bad. But sometimes I get people on the like with the other one who don't have like a job or anything, and then it's just like impossible to close them.
Yeah.
But this is what it's looking like, and the winning ad seems to be
Is this a testing ground campaign or meant to be a testing ground campaign?
so this is a test. So this is after bear. So usually I bear it and then I put it into testing, but usually I wouldn't make this many ad sets in a testing campaign. But
You're also running it at ad set budget instead of CBO.
oh shit.
Uh, so what as a lesson, I put this up on Instagram the other day. Because this is what was happening in Jara's account. Except like if I showed you his account, you'd be like, even now I'm still like 3 weeks later still cutting dead wood out of that account because there was just so much shit everywhere. But you don't want to cut it all too quickly because you'll destabilize it. But what happens when you set budget at ad set level is now the learnings are retained in each ad set as opposed to being shared across each ad set.
Yeah.
So if they're all hitting the same audience, they then compete with each other as opposed to talk to each other. So then that essentially means you're running currently 3 different campaigns inside this campaign that aren't communicating.
Right.
Whereas if you run it at CBO, that's when you start to see that 4PI structure come through because you're not forcing the spend into certain sectors. Because right now, like these all seem to be serving bottom of funnel. I'm not bottom. Yeah. How long has this been running?
Like a week.
A week. Go to yesterday for the time frame.
Yeah. Okay.
When you say 4PI, Sam, just a quick question on that.
Top of funnel.
You say when they work together, are you saying that like one ad might push in to the other ad that's best performing? So it might like help the best performing ad in a way. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, essentially. So like, so these are all acting pretty much as top of funnel at the moment, and they all will change in terms of their purpose as your budget grows as well. So because Johnny's budget is being forced into each of these, we can't necessarily get a true read on how they're interacting with each other because they're not interacting with each other, and they're not supporting each other. And what we might like as a hypothetical, what might happen if say this switch to CBO and say Johnny chucked it up to $100 a day, you might see this ad set stays at this daily frequency. This one might go to 1.2. This one might go to, it probably wouldn't, but for example's sake, might go to 1.3. So now this one is your prospecting ad that might be producing the highest cost per result. Say this was $10, but the CPM on that frequency, the CPM is probably quite low, I'd imagine. Johnny, is it like what in the teens? If you want to scroll along and show me.
In a control campaign, would you even put like a top, like a one that's acting as top of funnel, like say maybe like those
Totally.
$4 or $5 impressions, Sam, those $4 to $5 CPM ads, chuck them in the control campaign, and that'll sort of help the overall health of that through the CBO.
Not necessarily. If the creative has a purpose, so always think like one offer, one campaign. So this campaign is John's message campaign. The CPMs are not too bad because reflection those benchmarks were in USD. So this one's probably within like a top of funnel range. This one's scraping it, and then this one's probably looking like it would act more bottom of funnel. If you change it to maximum on CPMs, you want to look at the average as opposed to the daily because that will fluctuate as it goes. So yeah, you can change it to maximum and then. So yeah, so they're all sort of hovering around the same spot, which is, given the low daily frequency, I'd say they're all acting as prospecting. They've all got that sort of ability to reach. But as you scale the campaign, say right now they're all acting as prospecting or low daily frequency, okay CPM. If Johnny scales this up to $500 a day, that order will shift because as we've spoken about before with you guys, like when you're spending $100 a day, you're asking Meta to perform at this level. So you just ask, say the CPM is, I was going to do $20 to make it easy in my head. That means you're getting 5,000 people reached per day that you're asking Meta to get results from. If your CPM, if you're spending $500 a day, now you're asking Meta to get results from 25,000 people. So then the purpose that these ads serve may shift, and you might find that they don't work as well, or they might change their position in the overall portfolio as you're increasing the budget. Trying to think of how to explain this simply. For example, let's say this was $500 a day. We might find that ad set 3 serves bottom. This serves, and they can all serve different ones, but maybe this serves top and this serves top as well. So the CPM stays consistent with these ones, but this one creeps up to like 40. The frequency starts to climb on ad set 3. And the frequency on these stays between 1 and 1.15 on a daily basis. Does that mean this one's fucked? No, it doesn't. It means that now we're starting to see a balance of how that portfolio interacts with each other at a higher spend level. So if, for example, this one, we would want to see it having the best efficiency, So say these two were producing cost per messages at $10, and this had the higher CPM, um had the higher frequency, and was producing leads at $11, it would be a sign that okay, this is a shit ad set, or like it's not serving the purpose in our ad account anymore. So then we would look to beat that and replace it with a better bottom of funnel serving creative. Make sense?
Yeah.
So because Johnny's got it set at ABO, that interaction can't happen. It can happen at the ad level, but for the growth and scalability of the campaign, it's way harder to manage, takes way more time to manage, and just a shit ton more effort to manage at ABO, plus typically gets worse results.
And how do I change it? Just in ad set or a campaign?
You can flick it back. If you go to the campaign level, go edit, whichever one it was, and then this one.
right there.
Right here, switch to camera. Why doesn't it just automatically do this? $60 a day?
Yeah, that's your total at the moment.
Okay, cool. We'll just go with that. Okay. And so should I just keep on with this ad? Do you reckon there's any changes that I need to do?
No, it looks solid at the moment. That was the main change. So now just monitor this over the next few days as to how the spend gets distributed now that you've got it at this level, and now you'll start to get that 4PI structure start to show.
Okay. I've got one more question. Is this structured right? I hope that have been, is there a way to see, like, is this structured in the right way?
Yeah,
Yeah, cool.
looks fine. Got two tests running. You've got a winning ad set.
That's old. That's my older ad. If I go like last 7 days, you kind of see that it's like not really going. And this is the one that's kind of taken over in here.
Yeah, that's the king of the account at the moment. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's fine. And then you might make the call over the next little bit to like this one has from what I saw, not a great cost per result. It's also not picking up much spend. If you then like the frequency is quite high as well. Well, not quite high. That's higher, but that's obviously had a lot more spend. So this one probably looks like it'll be the next to go off.
Yeah.
And then yeah, just keep playing king of the account. See how you
Right.
can complement it. Like if you do a full 4PI now,
Yeah.
we'll go through it, switch to maximum.
Oh,
So with the control campaign set, like, are we just putting the ads that are going to generate the leads, the sales, etc.?
Yeah, so testing ground and control. So control is the promotion from testing ground if it takes up more of the spend. So like Johnny could promote this one to control possibly once it's maybe reached a bit more spend.
and is that
But
the factor, sorry, Sam? Like to know when to graduate it to the control?
yeah, you basically want it if it's taking up over 80% of the spend, that's when you promote it up.
Okay.
And you just can't beat it. Because then it's taking away from your test, and then your control becomes obviously your control.
Yeah.
Some accounts don't ever end up with controls. They end up with just well-balanced testing grounds. But control is if you just get creatives that dominate the spend. But to
With the control campaign, Sam, like just because I've got an ad it's just like a kind of like an info ad. It's not really like a high intent lead. It's kind of like a sort of lower intent lead of I just want to buy info, and that one's sort of taking all the spend from the ads that I feel like will. This is just feel. This is data speaking.
Mhm.
What I'm seeing and feeling is they're not really booking calls. It's the other guys in the bottom of funnel or the testing ground campaigns and the other ones. Um, an old ad that I was running. So I'm just like, how do I even do I just switch that off or do I just scale it up and then it'll just I'll just I'm not really too sure. on like whether that will just automatically go into that spend. If I should just switch it off, I don't even know.
Yeah, so you've got to have the balance of the four metrics as well. So, for example, if this one was draining all the spend, but it was getting $10 cost per messages, and then if we looked at go across to the CPM, Johnny,
Yeah. Go across the spend.
CPM.
CPM. Oh yeah.
So, okay, CPM super low, so and all of these are quite low. So these are all you consider prospecting. Change the time frame to yesterday. Go back to the frequency.
Yeah, $2.
Uh,
Frequency is
1.19. It's probably like a mid-ish funnel sitting ad, so it's not too bad. So if this was though producing leads at $10, and you're like, okay, well this is 1.19, this is 1.13, this, as say this one was $5, but this one's getting all the spend, they're serving the same purpose in the sense that their frequency is similar, their CPM is similar. It's just this one's grabbing all the spend, and its efficiency is way shitter than this one.
Mm.
At this spend level, we probably wouldn't necessarily chalk that up to like because this one spent $2, this one spent 30, and both of these like that's obviously small, so it's not statistically significant. Whereas, but if you say this one had spent, if Johnny flipped it back to maximum, um,
ready.
this one has spent 300. This one spent nearly 20 grand. Um,
It's quite a difference.
yeah, there's like quite a big statistically different gap. So then you could say, well, this one is performing worse, so it slightly is as well. Then you go from the quantitative, and this is where I talk about quantitative and qualitative analysis. And you can see why like half the shit that I talk about never goes, like I don't get much virality from this sort of stuff because it's super boring stuff. But then you go to the qualitative analysis of, okay, well, this one's looking shitter in the campaign. It's serving pretty much the same purpose as this one in terms of the frequency, the CPM, etc. So there's no differentiation besides this one is just less efficient, but it's
Mm.
also taking up the majority of the spend. So from here to make the decision as to whether I turn this off so that more spend goes back to this more efficient one. I would then look at the qualitative data to go, when I injected this campaign, did I start getting better leads, more book calls, more sales, etc.? And again, you've got to run that over a statistically significant period of time as well. And
Mm.
say, even though this one, from a quantitative standpoint, based on our 4PI analysis, looks worse, it's actually attracting a better audience, which is resulting in better downstream metrics. Therefore, I won't turn this off. I will keep it on. But if the opposite was true, and you look at it and you're like, fuck, my cost per booking is the same, my closing rate is the same or worse or anything like that, you might say, since I injected this account, this campaign in, or this creative batch in, uh, my overall performance has declined. Therefore,
Let's say like you did, like say John's winning ad set down there with the $2.36 was getting him more people closed, and you're like got that to side of qualitative, whatever the hell the qualitative thing that you're talking about.
yeah,
Uh, you would then go, cool, I'll actually switch this off and then let the spend distribute into this because it's better quality coming through.
yeah, exactly. So
So yeah, it sounds like a bit of a patient waiting game. Seems like the scams always with the ads is just wait another week and then see what happens.
yeah, it's
Don't day trade the account. That's
you got
kind
to
of what
swing trade it. You got to play the long term.
Mm.
So when you focus on long term, and it's obviously easier to say when say you're if it's me, like obviously running someone else's account, spending someone else's money, it's easier to say, hey, just be patient. If it's a big brand that has X amount of thousands of dollars, like, yeah, if we spend 10 grand on an experiment and it doesn't work, no stress. Um, But when you're a smaller brand and smaller business, and you're like, I don't really want to spend 10 grand on a experiment because that'll hurt the pocket if it fails. Um, then you've got to obviously look at what's statistically significant for you. So some people say 90 days. Like if you're working big corporates, they'll run an experiment for 90 days. If it doesn't work, they'll pull it. You might condense that to like, hey, if I inject this into the account and in 2 weeks, and sometimes you'll see overnight like shit happen. You shouldn't react overnight, but like after 3 days, you might be like, fuck, I'm attracting so many more shit client or shit prospects and everything's just gone shit. Since I put this creative in, I'm going to turn it off. You can be that reactive. Um, but um, the signal needs to be strong enough to make that. If you're like, my gut feel is, and this is something I have to train clients on all the time, is like I had a client message me yesterday. He's like, "Oh, I'm feeling like over the last few days, like the quality is lower." He said something like that, and I was like,
John,
"Probably John, yeah." What do you mean? What do you mean by feel? Give me some numbers. And he's like, "Oh, well, probably 50 to 60% have been unqualified." Um, I was like, is that a number you just pulled out or is that something you've been tracking? He's like, oh, I just pulled that out. So then we went in and um, like looked at it, looked at the actual numbers and everything was the same as previously. It was all in his head. Um, so it's very easy to get emotionally tied into this stuff. Um, but
especially
yeah,
in days, a week. It's like a week's not enough time. Maybe 2, 3 weeks where I'm at. I feel, but not a week. You know, well, last week was a really good week. This week, it's
it's
okay.
different.
It's
Yeah.
not. It's well so far as last week. You know, so yeah,
And
for
Jared's a
sure.
bit like that. I'm trying to train him out of that mindset. He's like, last week was great. And then, even when I was consulting with him back in the day, I remember there was one time he was like, oh, we had a shit week last week. I think the campaign's dying and the ads are dying, or whatever. Like, man, just relax. Like, it was a bad few days. And then the Monday, Tuesday, he like cleaned up on sales and he's like, oh, I was just reacting. I was like, yeah. So, um, you've got a similar if you've ever traded or done like any forex, or I know crew you've played in the crypto market or anything. Um, the whole thesis of like that area of not that I used to and still trade a little bit, but um, used to trade and got mentored by a handful of quite successful traders, and that's why I think I do quite well with ad accounts because I don't react emotionally because uh, that's how you have to be with like trades. If you place a trade and you're reacting every time it goes up, down, up, down, up, down, you will inevitably lose money. Whereas if you separate from the emotions, just like, okay, here's my stop loss, here's my target profit. If it hits the stop loss, I'm out. If it hits the profit, I'm good, I win. Whatever happens from here is just what happens. And then you just let the trade play out, do its thing. And you just refine your strategy from there, whether it loses or wins, if take lessons from it, so on and so forth. Um, and yeah, you get better performance obviously over time versus, oh fuck, it's in the red, get out, and then it shoots up and you're like, oh fuck, I missed out, and then you get back in and then it drops down again. And yeah, that's
Mm.
what that's what's happened with a lot of people that I know have tried to trade. Um, a great book on this, before I have to bounce. So actually the call's at 1:30. It's not one, so I can go a bit over. Um, a great book on this called Trading in the Zone. Um, It's not about ads or anything or marketing. It's about trading and finances. But it talks about this psychological aspect of staying balanced and staying, yeah, like detached from the outcome and just looking at things rawly and going, okay, well, what decision do I need to make from here based on all the evidence that's in front of me? Um, so if you want to work on that aspect, Johnny, I'd recommend you get that book because you're always bad with this. Uh, have a listen to that book or read it or whichever you want, because that'll
Yeah,
help with balancing out the mindset.
cool.
Um,
What was it called again, Sam?
Trading in the Zone.
Trading in the Zone. Okay, it's easy to remember. I'll write it down. So cool.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, Sam, like I'm getting sales ads are pumping. Like the specific ad on a testing ground with warm audiences, like I said, it was like $5, like under $10 bookings, something like that. I think $5, close to $5 bookings. Um, and that's just running to a retargeting audience from the top of funnel ads.
Yeah, the broad retargeting one.
Not the broad retargeting. Yeah, the broad retargeting one is running from the growth campaign, the reach campaign with the
Yeah,
low
yeah.
funnel. And that
So
one, wow. So that one, I'll
thanks,
give it
man.
7 days. Pop it into the bloody what is it called? The control campaign.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know whether to put that. I think you said this. I don't know whether to put it in another ad set or in the same, like put it in a separate ad set. Yeah.
Um, while it's working, throttle it. So like you don't want to go into necessarily into control unless you have to. Um, meaning if you say because your testing ground will only scale to the size of that audience and your retargeting you based on video views, engagement, that sort of stuff at the moment. Yeah. So that's only going to scale as much as you put the budget into that top level. And you can probably get a decent amount of scale out of that. Um, but eventually, as your business grows, etc., and I don't know where that ceiling will be, but you'll probably hit a ceiling where it's not as efficient to do that, and you might want to go to cold, and you might introduce a cold offer. Um, so that's when you would then take the winning creators from your testing ground and move them into the broad control campaign because they've proven to work here. And you want to see, can I get a greater efficiency? And there's no concrete, like right or wrong. You want to just see, can I get a greater efficiency and scale when I go to broad versus my current like broad retargeting? Because you might find that your broad retargeting, you scale it up, it gets to $200 a day, and all your results kind of like start to tank. Um,
Okay, but if I'm
then
doing that with the warm audience, right? I need to up the spend on my. If I want to increase my audiences, I need to up the spend on my top of funnel campaigns, don't I?
yeah, yeah. So while that's working, I probably wouldn't stress or like I maybe don't even go into your control at the moment. Just focus on those two and like up the spend in the growth, up the spend in here, and just build that machine out between the two. And then
Instagram.
and then when you find a sticky point where like my performance is starting to be meh, then then you could take it as an experiment, or or if you're at a point where it's just like you're really comfortable and you're like, man, I'm making lots of sales, money's coming along. I'm going to throw $50 a day to experiment abroad, and you run an experiment for 3 weeks or 2 weeks and see
Gotcha.
how that performs.
Comes
Uh,
another one.
yeah, and it might fail, and you might say like, "Fuck it, it didn't perform anywhere near as well as what I was doing." I'm just going to go back to focusing on this. Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Sweet.
it's working for you, so yeah, I would just keep doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've got some ads that are getting Pacific Islanders coming through, and they speak broken English. So I think I need a. Yeah. I got a 120 ad running right now. And John knows how it's like speaking to Pacific Islanders, not being
Not
racist, but
not being racist, but yeah, it's just a culture thing. It's just a culture thing. It's harder to sell them just
yeah,
culturally because in the islands, they run a lot of like fitness stuff for free, so it can
Mm,
be hard to
there's a
close.
disconnect, just like anything between
Yeah,
a disconnect. Yeah,
yeah, I get it. They
yeah.
just want all the handouts and the freebies. Not as you said, not culturally, but or it might just be a cultural thing in that they give it freely to each other. So
Hmm.
they just expect. I don't know if you consider yourself a whitey or a gringo, or which uh, area you sit into, but me and Johnny, yes. I remember when I was in America, all the Mexicans used to call us gringos. Like, hey, gringo. Uh,
Yeah, in New Zealand, we're Pakeha, bro.
Pakeha.
Pakeha, so you're Pakeha, bro. Sure, right?
but
We're the
I got a flip flop
capitalist
speaking
pigs.
to an Islander, so just That's why I was like, oh, it's really have to feel them out because sometimes they're not very westernized. If they're westernized, then it's like, okay, cool, I
Yeah.
can connect. But if they're not, it's like I just gotta sort of gauge it a little bit.
Yeah,
And
as long as you're getting $5 to $10 book calls, like don't stop doing that. Especially if you're qualifying them well. If you find that like you're getting a few unqualified people jumping on calls, just add an extra qualification layer in or something to put a bit more friction.
there's not
Hmm.
enough data because it is only spending $5, a day. But it's getting
Ah.
like 6, 7 leads a day, and like most of them are booking out of it. But it's multi, so when I jump on a call with a multi, instant connection. Like,
Yeah.
hands down, the call's always usually 90% of the time like, "Oh, I really want to do this." This is like it's always like the connection is strong. So when I go to an islander or say I spoke to an Italian guy yesterday, I was like, "Fuck these calls." Like I'm not even connecting with this guy properly. So there's like I can feel the difference in our connection and how we're speaking. He's
Mm.
like, he's looking at me like I'm like, man, I'm honored to be on this call. Whereas those other guys, they're not so much, you know.
Yeah. Um, that might just be like, what are you closing at the moment? 50, 60,
Yeah, 50-ish, right? I think, yeah, 50.
50. So that's part of the game as well. Like you're gonna get some shit people on calls. 50% is a really solid close rate. Like Jara's close rate is floats between 35 to 40. Sometimes he's up at the 50. Um, but then the women's side, he's up at like this week is like 100% close rate on the women's side. Um,
Is he running two? Is he running men and women right now?
yeah. Yeah. So he's spending a decent amount. But yeah, he's hitting both angles, and closing pretty well on the men, closing very well on the women. Women are typically easier to close than the men in fitness. Um, so yeah, at 50% close rate, like just weed those guys out at the start of the call. Just, if you're not feeling it after like 5 minutes, just be like, yeah, look, so the offer is this. Do you want to do it? Nah. Okay, cool. No stress. Catch you later, mate. And just get yourself off the call.
Yeah, through that. Yeah. All right, sweet. Well, that gives me a bit of clarity. Something simple like that.
Yeah, it sounds like things are humming, man. So just stay focused on those two campaigns. Maybe just up the budget to reach more people. See if you can up the budget there. And then
So
if you need,
the growth campaign to feed that one.
yeah, and keep just bringing more people into your world. Then just keep retargeting them to and if it keeps holding the efficiency, then awesome. If you start to lose efficiency, then maybe consider the control campaign at broad test.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's something that I might even just slowly really pivot into is the cultural aspect of Māori because I know with that I can close. I think I can close at 70, 80 with the cultural aspect. In
Yeah.
fact, I think when I was running pure cultural was like 70, 80% close rate. Sometimes even 90 to 100 some weeks on the good
Well,
weeks. Yeah, I just I gotta
build your creatives around them.
yeah, like my chopper funnel, I could slowly phase it up, but it's going all right, so I won't change anything. I'll just keep feeding it until something breaks.
Yeah. Like play king of the account. Even with that one, just start feeding in some Maori specific stuff, see how it performs, gauge it over a few weeks, and just steadily feel it out and take these lessons and insights and um, sit on your hands. Like obviously, whilst you're going through a test, you sit on your hands, but just be building shit in the background, like creating new creatives and stuff, so that when that test concludes, you can inject new stuff and you can always be trying to improve the account.
Sweet, easy. Wizard hat.
All good.
Awesome,
Wizard
guys.
hat.
Well, I'm gonna go have some lunch, and then get ready for this sales call for the property group. So hopefully that'll go decent. Um, but I'll see you guys either in the DMs. If I'm slow to reply, I apologize. I'm not ghosting
Well,
intentionally. I just miss things.
I'm paying you $17 US a month. I don't expect you to reply straight away.
Give me a few days.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
I'll
eh?
jump on it. But otherwise I'll catch you guys next week.
Easy,
All right.
brother. Appreciate it. Eh?
It is. Bye.
Ciao.